Finding the bottleneck. We can come up with ideas, wisdom, with certain principles that I've been talking about. PDCA, CAPD, Shila Samadhi Panya. Basis is to see things as it is, not you think as it is. So you have a calm and quiet mind, and not just picking up the ideas coming off from your shallow part of your brain, grab it and run it. Stay and watch. In Japanese, that's called shikan. Shi is stop and kan is watch. Vipassana, the meditation, taken all the Buddhism, I'm sure, would go through the same principle of Shila Samadhi Panya. Right conduct, have a calm and quiet mind, make a good judgment, come up with an idea or wisdom. And the other dimension I thought related to that is about this bottleneck. I remember my father, who was like my friend, he never gave me specific instruction, but I think he set me some settings so that I can be aware of certain things that he practiced, like we call it through the skin, not by the word. So more intuition. So he took me up playing golf with his business associate. I was eating lunch with them, but no idea what they're talking about. But from those experiences, I may have captured some of the way he handled the business, but pleasure at the same time. One day, I don't know what's the circumstance there, but I just remember one sentence he told me, which is, be at where the bottleneck is. Bottleneck, Japanese airo. The passage is blocked. So if you can identify the key issues that you can resolve, then the impact of that is much more than just resolving one thing. For that to happen, you need to know why that could be the case and how to deal with it. He never said anything, but he just kind of like almost mumbled. One important thing in life is to realize what bottleneck is, and you put yourself there with the skills to address it. Even that, I'm not sure he said it, but I figured out on my own, especially related to the lean production, Toyota production system, agile, whatever the term they use. And I wrote a book about waste elimination. And one of the worst waste is not utilizing the talent of people. So second book, I talked about not just the technique, but empowering people for them to be the master of their destiny. Also finding the bottleneck to become master of the destiny, it's implied. And I came up with this idea, mini company, for them to find the destiny, self-managing, not to be dependent on the circumstances, but you find the passage into the future and learn the skills to do that individually, but organizationally. And I think many companies succeeded with me in the last 35 years practicing those ideas. I wrote 3 books related to those, and the last one with the Dalai Lama's forward is connecting to the heart, result from the heart. So it's not just a brain activity, but deeper into your consciousness, so to speak. So if you expand the idea of finding the bottleneck and address it, that's all I did for the last 35, even 40 years, and worked as a consultant or investor, mergers, acquisition, private equity. And what I found is the same idea applies to my own life. So I came up with the idea such as life profile after having the awakening experience to break through the blockage. And in Vipassana, they even talk about the blockage. Scan the body, sense what's missing, pay attention to it, resolve it and keep on working on it. That idea is precisely the same in lean or agile, so that you reduce the inventory to expose the problem, to address the problem, to keep on reducing the inventory such that the flow is developed. Naturally, from the beginning of the idea of the business to implementation, or from the supplier to the customer, linking up all the operations in a manner that is smooth and there's no blockage, and that is to address the silo syndrome of the company, that each department is speaking their own language, that kind of thing. And that's a mini company idea, to be customer oriented, self-motivated. And I see the same happening in my own body, mini me instead of mini company. So the mini me is like a relationship, work, hobby, health, whatever, or mini me. So different entities exist that they have their own local optimization to take place. If you look at this problem, how to solve it. But if you're not careful of the whole background, the system, there's a reason for each to exist, and you have to have an alignment to the whole so that the whole process is activated. And I use the word aliveness, and the organization become more alive when they start to talk with each other smoothly, more intuitively. So that's what I did, and main function I did was to find a bottleneck, and I talked at the top level, middle management level, shop floor level, different organization of the department, R&D, sales, finance, human resource, whatever. And then by talking, but basically asking the question, what do you do? What's important? How do you measure it? How do I know you're succeeding? What are the plans? Can I see it? How effective was it? So basically, I'm asking questions to get to know what their thinking process is and behavior pattern. And I talk with this, that, here, there, and then I get the sense of what's going on in the whole company in about, sometimes in a few minutes, just walking around the shop floor, and I know what's going on, or just talking with the different department in a day or two, even thousands of people there. The very typical symptom is the blockage, and which ones are caused by what or by whom or which area and how to resolve it. And by asking the questions, but not me telling what the answer should be, because they are the one, the president or mini company president, they should know their business. So I asked them, can you show me next time I come back and what is that this missing information is, and can you explain to me so that I can see how you're doing? Intuitively, this is my arrogance, but let me just say it. In those days in Greek, ancient Greek, Socrates, as I understand, he said he doesn't know anything, yet he talked to people here and there, and I tend to think he was looking for the same in the city of Athens, or related to Delphi, know thyself, that's there, for each to know who they are, what they do, and why, and be able to explain it. And I tend to believe that's what I did, that the dialogue called the Socratic method, dialectic process, very much like my approach, and some have mentioned to me that I'm just doing that, just asking questions. So the last 35 years, I have some idea, but I don't depend on it, because what's the point of me having an idea, but for them to come up with the idea and own the idea and implement, that's the whole point of it. That's the execution, not just the concept. So I wrote the books, and then when I visit, I just ask the question. So it's kind of like homework. Next time I visit, I get understanding, and then I look for the next passage. And as I said, that same process applies in my own living. Whether successful or not, it's not where you are, but how much you could go through this process. Because some are lucky enough to have a good habit from early days and have good parents or good references that they can relate to and become a habit without you knowing it. But others, like myself, I think I'm more in the category because, well, I cannot judge it. It's very difficult. It's a subjective thing, but still, there's lots of habitual patterns that I have to overcome over time. If it's already natural as I was born and, picking up good habit early on, that's easier, but it doesn't matter. Given the situation, know what's going on, what are the issues, and within myself, what are the blockages, and the Sila Samani Panya and the Vipassana and checking the inner body sensation would identify that. And then it opens up, and that's the awakening. I had the 8th day of the first Vipassana. I was lucky enough. It's a 10-day course. It was 8 days in the afternoon. So if the course was 4 days or 7 days, I wouldn't have made it, but that's another story. So blockage, bottleneck, identification, practice, Sila Samadhi Panya, know what they are, why it's important, how to process it, realize what is really going on, and go deep into your consciousness, samadhi. Then idea or the wisdom will pop up. So I mentioned various ways because you need to look at the situation from various angles that I posted many videos, but this is another angle that I think I haven't mentioned before, which is the skill to identify the bottleneck within the organization. That's the strategy of the company for organizational issues, but also within each individual to find the blockage and know the way how to deal with it. Like I talked about the waku waku or inner body sensation, gyroscope, all the ideas. So if you can gain some ideas and practice it, the bottleneck will be opened up. And then you see your life energy is flowing better. So I'm 73.5, and I'm still digging up and finding my bottlenecks, and my old habitual patterns just still come back to me. Some people like Eckhart Tolle seem to have gone through much deeper into clearing up the bottleneck. But in my case, I'm working on it. And I'm not depressed. Well, sometimes. But I have this principle. Just be sincere in what we do. Be truthful. And the passage will open up. Hopefully, I captured the main message here today, this morning. And I hope if you find it meaningful, please ask yourself and answer yourself and see how it can move forward. That's what I've been doing. Recently, I met some new friend, who is talking the same language and the same process. So you're not alone. This principle is applied, and they are there. They may be part of the silent majority. And if we have a way to find, that's another bottleneck. A good platform and sharing, exchanging ideas, I'm sure that will enrich our passage to live our life. Thank you.